As many of you may know, half of my channel is built around debunking nonsense in the industry, which is fantastic because there's so much nonsense for me to debunk. One thing I have noticed is that a lot of this nonsense is actually targeted towards women, where women are often preyed upon in the fitness industry and sold lies and dreams regarding fat loss, hormones, and many other things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to debunk some really controversial bits and bobs. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to be a knob. I'm doing this because I'm genuinely trying to help you achieve what you want to achieve, and sometimes step you away from the nonsense you've been fed for so many years, and maybe considering a different approach might actually help you get there. First myth, birth control makes you fat. During a period of maybe taking birth control, you may have experienced some weight gain. But the thing you have to question here is, did the birth control lead to that weight gain, or did something else contribute? Taking birth control obviously influences hormones in some capacities, although that's not always the case. The big thing there is the birth control itself doesn't have any direct mechanisms linked with fat gain. What typically happens is one of two things, or maybe even both of them. Number one, this can result in additional water retention, which would increase the number on the scales, thus make you link the idea to fat gain. Number two, and this is something that people really overlook, altering your hormones, i.e. through birth control, can result in altering your hunger signaling, which in turn means you actually may experience greater levels of hunger. What's happening there is you're hungrier more often, therefore maybe subconsciously consuming more calories throughout the day, thus contributing to a potential surplus of calories, thus resulting in fat gain. Tracking your calories and being quite on top of caloric intake, expenditure and whatnot can give you a better understanding of what's actually going into your body and what you're actually burning, thus helping you potentially limit how much of a surplus you enter, or maybe actually stay around maintenance, potentially even enter a deficit period as well. Another big myth, intermittent fasting. To clarify, and I want to just preface this, there's nothing wrong with intermittent fasting, but there's nothing magical about it either. Ultimately, intermittent fasting doesn't change the fat loss mechanisms whatsoever. What really happens is you just give yourself a smaller window of opportunity to eat. If you are sleeping for 8 hours a day, you then have 16 hours a day where you're awake. That's 16 hours a day in which you are able to consume calories, or may consume calories, which could actually potentially lead to 16 hours a day where you may overconsume calories. When you intermittent fast, you're simply reducing that window. So if you intermittent fast for 8 hours, you are now only able to eat calories or consume calories for an 8-hour period per day, thus reducing the window in which you can eat. In that, you're reducing the likelihood of you overeating because the window of opportunity is smaller, and you'll potentially make it easier for you to stick to a deficit. It doesn't change how fat loss occurs, it doesn't change any crazy mechanisms as many people may claim it does. It simply just reduces the window in which you're able to eat, thus potentially increasing the likelihood of you adhering to the diet and ultimately remaining more consistent with said diet. Is it magical? No, but ultimately if intermittent fasting helps you stay in a calorie deficit, and that's what you believe to be most sustainable for you, then I fully respect it. It really does come down to calories in versus calories out, and how you get there kind of is on you and what's most sustainable for you. The next one, free weights are better for building muscle than machines. The first thing I'd ask is justify why. Oftentimes when you say that, to ask people to justify this belief, they will say to you, because it works the stabilizer muscles. As I've mentioned throughout many videos before, one of the ways of determining how effective a movement is how effectively does it target the intended musculature. If I'm doing a free weight movement that requires a lot of stability demand, in which case loads of other muscles are getting involved, that reduces its effectiveness. The other thing is, if stability is such a demand, it's hindering my ability to push that muscle closer to failure, that reduces its effectiveness. So no, free weights are great, don't get me wrong, but the blanket statement that they are better for building muscle than machines is false, because a lot of machines are very good at taking target musculatures through a targeted function or range of motion, fantastic for building muscle, and they're also very stable, fantastic for building muscle. Your body doesn't step back and say, hang on a second, we're lifting with a dumbbell, therefore I must exert more force and recruit more fibers to yield a better hypertrophy stimulus. Your body doesn't think like that. The muscles are simply thinking, am I going through range of motion A to B against resistance, and am I pushing hard? Yes. Don't overcomplicate things. Ultimately, choose movements that target what you want them to target, and do so in a manner that allows you to train the intended musculature really hard, close to failure, if not to failure, without being limited by something else. It's that simple. It's simply what I believe, and something that I've learned over many years of doing this, and I've been promoting and preaching to not only myself, but also to my clients for over a decade now. And if that's not enough for you, and you really fancy it and want to learn more from my waffle, subscribe to the channel, because then you get to see other videos I do, and then you get to learn more things, and then you can apply them to your own training and just be cooler, basically. Another myth and misconception: pregnant women shouldn't resistance train. Utter nonsense. Honestly, utter nonsense. Fundamentally, a lot of times people would present this idea that pregnant women shouldn't resistance train due to fear of how it could impact the pregnancy process and maybe even the baby. Fundamentally, getting stronger, developing your muscles, and training during the pregnancy period, more often than not, is only actually going to help your pregnancy and actually help the process entirely. It's going to lead to a more comfortable duration of said pregnancy. It's also going to lead to potentially a more comfortable birthing process. The big thing that people overlook here is understanding that you must program things accordingly. You must consider the physiological changes that have occurred due to pregnancy. You probably can't program someone a heavy lying leg curl, for example, in which they're lying on the stomach when they have a baby on board. But ultimately, a lot of my clients are either currently pregnant or have previously been pregnant while we work together. And resistance training through that process and making sure we're accommodating their program accordingly has only helped said process and has only made the birthing procedure actually easier for them. Just because you're pregnant, do not use this as an opportunity to lose all the gains you spent months, maybe even years building. Instead, alter what you're doing and use this as an opportunity to make that process easier for both you and the baby. Menopause. Immediately I say that word, people are gonna kick off. Ultimately, what really happens is I see a lot of people online say they can't lose weight due to menopause. That's not true. It's black and white definitive statement there of I cannot lose weight due to menopause. Factually, it is just false. If you were not to eat a single calorie for 2 weeks, you would lose weight. Should you do that? Absolutely not. But when you say I can't lose weight with a definitive statement, I'll give an extreme example to prove that to be wrong. Menopause will make weight loss harder. It can alter hunger signalings due to hormonal changes. This can then alter hunger signalings, which can make sticking to a deficit harder. But another thing that actually occurs, two big things here. Throughout menopause, people subconsciously end up moving less. And that then in turn brings their caloric expenditure down. This could be due to fatigue, whatever it may be. But ultimately, in moving less, you're going to expend less calories, thus meaning the likelihood of you entering a deficit or staying at maintenance if your food isn't changing is going to be lower. The second thing to consider, belief. If you go into, or you're going through menopause at this time, and you convince yourself of the belief, I can't lose weight because of this, you're probably not going to lose weight. And this is ultimately because you've set that belief in motion that you can't do something, and therefore subconsciously are probably going to stop trying to do something. It really does come down to calories in versus calories out. This will be harder during menopause. I'm not doubting that, I'm not disputing that. I'm simply stating it is still possible. You just may have to make some changes to allow this to be more of a reality for you. Like with all my videos, this is simply my opinion. Doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's false, it's just simply what I believe. But I actually want to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. So if you disagree with me or even agree with me, let me know. But until the next one, thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my waffle about myths and misconceptions. And thank you for tolerating the video. And don't forget to subscribe, please, because I'll cry if you don't.